The church on Pine Street was beautiful on the outside. White wood siding, stained glass windows glowing amber in the morning sun, and a bell that rang with a purity you could hear 4 blocks away. But inside, it was a theater of masks. Families arrived dressed to impress, smiles painted over pain, handshakes exchanged like currency, the same greetings, the same rows, the same polished image of what people thought church should be. Every pew had its occupants, unspoken rules about who sat where, except the very last row, right under the flickering exit sign. That one always remained untouched until he started coming. No one ever saw him walk up. He never parked out front, never came in through the main door. But each Sunday, like clockwork, he appeared. He looked ordinary. A hoodie, work boots, faint smell of cedar and rain. His hair curled just slightly at the nape of his neck. And his hands, well, his hands looked like they'd built things, like they'd held people together. He never spoke, never stood, but he always did one thing. He saved 3 seats. He'd enter quietly, nod to the ushers, and sit at the end of the pew. Then, with a kind of reverence reserved for sacred things, he would place the objects. The pink ribbon, frayed on the edges, gently tied to the corner of the first seat. The worn-out Bible, cracked and water-damaged, placed carefully on the second. An empty spot, untouched, left completely clear, as if someone still might walk in. Every week, the ritual was the same, and every week, the people ignored him. At first, they assumed he was someone's cousin from the mission, a man passing through town, maybe homeless, maybe reformed. But when he kept showing up, people began whispering. "He's harmless," someone said with a tight smile. "He's probably just mentally off. Keeps saving those seats like someone's coming. I don't know. It's a little unsettling to me." One Sunday, a woman slipped through the back door. Her clothes were rumpled, eyes red, mascara smudged. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. She paused at the threshold. You could feel her hope pressing through the cracks in her composure. But the church turned to glance. And in that instant, the moment of truth, judgment fell like a silent hammer. She began to turn around, but he stood. He gently reached out and gestured toward the seat with the ribbon. His expression was soft, kind, and open. The woman's lip quivered. She looked at him, really looked, then glanced at the people watching. Their gazes weren't cruel, but they weren't kind either, just cold and measured. She lowered her head and left. He sat again, carefully retying the ribbon as if it had never been offered. A month passed, and one morning a teenage boy wandered in. His hoodie covered most of his face, tattoos inked just beneath his sleeves. He looked around nervously, then noticed the Bible. He stared at it like it was an anchor calling him home. He stepped toward it. Someone coughed loudly. A few stares, and someone muttered, "Lord help him," not as a prayer, but as a complaint. The boy paused, eyes scanning the pews. Nobody smiled. Nobody waved. He turned and walked out. And Jesus, because that's who he was, didn't stop him. He just gently closed the Bible, whispered something no one else could hear. Something like, "Maybe next time." The storm came 2 weeks later. A lightning bolt cracked so close to the stained glass, it rattled it in its frames. The sky was bruised and angry. Rain poured like grief, pounding the roof as if heaven itself was weeping. Most people stayed home, but he came, soaked, shivering, yet steady. He walked to the last row, rain dripping from his sleeves. Water pooled around his boots, but he moved with purpose, like this row still mattered. Same ribbon, same Bible, same empty space. That morning's sermon was on the great banquet, how God invited the broken, the outcast, the unwanted to sit at his table. The irony was thick in the air. Halfway through the message, the preacher glanced toward the back and froze. Jesus was crying, not sobbing, just quietly breaking. Tears mixed with rain, his gaze locked on the 3 seats he had saved week after week for the ones no one else wanted. After church, the preacher, haunted, walked back, but the pew was empty. The ribbon hung alone. The Bible remained open to Luke 14, and the 3rd seat, it looked more empty than ever. He reached for the Bible and found on the inside cover a message written in red ink. Not fresh, not new, but ancient. These were their seats. The girl trapped in shame, the boy discarded by the world, the mother they judged. I held them open, but they never came. Jesus. See, Jesus doesn't rush to the front pews where the polished saints shine. He waits in the back for the ones still unsure, still hurting, still searching. He saves them a seat, hoping the church will too. But if we only make room for those who look the part, we may miss the King who still sits in the back row. God bless you, my friends.